What's up, YouTube? This is CJ.
And Sarah.
It's a Wednesday, and that means it's time for another keto
conversation.
So let's get started. All right, so we're back at you another week. Hopefully you're having a great week. We're going to try to keep this keto conversation short, but we've said that before, and they end up being 20 plus minutes. So anyway, Sarah sent me an article from the good folks at popsugar.com.
If they can be relied upon for accurate
so anyway,
news.
I was a little bit, anyway, but I don't know. You might be a subscriber to popsugar.com. I don't know. I'm not. It's called 6 Dangers of the Keto Diet According to Experts.
And this is from September 26th of this year.
Of 2019. So
it's a few days old.
So first thing I guess I wanted to say, so Sarah found this.
Actually, my sister found it and sent it to me as a possible keto
okay, I didn't know
conversation topic.
So, you know, we have people scouring the World Wide Web looking for
keto conversation
topics for us. So this was sent to us, and one of the things, now I saw something from Dr. Berg this week. I haven't been able to verify about keto being the #1 diet now. Maybe as we're talking, I can find that. I'm not sure what article that came from or where that information came from. And because I think last year or even earlier this year, keto wasn't the
we were like last on the list.
Yeah, and so now suddenly
World
keto
News
is
and whatever reports.
the #1 diet. And again, I don't know where that came from. I know it was in reference, it was part of an article where he was talking about there's some kind of ranking thing on, I think it was Facebook or something, some website where they were ranking keto sites, and you know, Dr. Berg's site was, I think, was #1, and then Thomas DeLauer and maybe Keto Connect. But anyway, that's neither here nor there, but the
popularity of this lifestyle is undeniable.
That's where I was going. Keto is hot. It's popular.
There's hardly anyone who hasn't heard of it. Let's just put it that way. So whether they've tried it or their friends have tried it or whatever, it's, you know, you've heard of it more than likely. Yeah,
you've been living under a rock if you've never heard of the keto diet.
I mean, movie stars are doing it, and you know, sports stars and etc. So I mean, it's out there.
Right, and it's I think it's actually starting to become I think it's already become mainstream.
Right.
But I know yesterday I was wearing a shirt. I think it says something like bacon.
No, I think it was like,
what is it?
Carbs, and then it has a less sign.
Oh yeah,
and then
carbs,
fat
less.
With the greater than, you know, so the greater than part was to the fats, and the less than part of the sign was to the carbs, and then it was like #keto or something. I think
I think you made it a little bit more complicated than it was. But anyway, I was wearing that shirt, and I got a lot of comments about it. So people understood
what it meant. That you were lowering your carbs and upping your fat, and that was #keto.
And so I was just walking around in Walmart, and people were like, "Hey, like that shirt," and blah. So it's just people I don't even know. So keto is a thing. It's a real thing. People are out there doing it.
Well, and anytime they're making articles about it, why you should or should not do it, it's a thing.
So now, when I started, you know, for some of y'all who don't know, you know, we have our YouTube channel, but we also have a blog where we primarily just have our recipes. We may have a couple other things out there, but it's primarily our recipes. And one of the things I was taking a course from somebody, a blog guru, and one of the things he was advising people to do years ago was, if you want to get traffic to your blog, talk about the keto diet. So you could have a blog about cats.
So this was someone who was not practicing a ketogenic diet.
And actually, I think he was practicing keto at some other point in his career, but from a blog traffic standpoint, that's what the context of the conversation was. It was like, hey, if you want to get traffic to your blog, I don't care if your thing is about quilting, about cats.
Because it's a hot topic.
It's a hot topic, keto. You put something there about keto. And so, again, keto is still hot. And so when we see articles.
And yet, despite its popularity, despite its hotness, there is still a lot of misinformation out there.
Yeah.
And that is basically what we're going to be talking about today.
But when I see this article, this title, 6 Dangers of the Keto Diet According to Experts.
They have not stated in the article who the experts are.
Yeah.
I'm assuming it's nutritionists
a few nutritionists
of some kind, but they're not necessarily ketogenic experts.
Yeah, I think they reference a few. But the whole point is, I guess when you sent me this link to this article, I looked at it like, okay, here's somebody else trying to. So I need readers. What's a good thing to write about? I'll write about keto, and I'll go the opposite way, and I'll say that it's dangerous, and this is the reason why.
Or possible potential dangers.
And so again, we're just
going to be reading and trying to help you maybe debunk some of this.
Right, because you may still run into people who you talk to who will still think this. Because although we, in our world, keto is a big thing, it's our lifestyle, and so on and so forth. There's still people who don't do keto. There's still people who have a lot of misinformation about keto. And these types of articles, they will read it and they'll say, "See, that's what I meant. I knew that was wrong." So anyway, let's get into it and see if we can keep this video under 25 minutes.
Okay.
All right.
So the first danger is increased cholesterol levels.
Yes.
So this is definitely a hot topic in this lifestyle.
Yes.
Because the ketogenic diet requires that most of your calories come from fat. And so a lot of people are under the misconception that eating a high-fat diet then can increase your cholesterol level.
Fat's been demonized in our diet for years.
Right.
It's been demonized.
Saturated fat has been demonized, period. That's why we have things like margarine and, oils that don't come from natural sources versus, back when, this country first started, it was lard and butter and, tallow and all those other things. But so now saturated fat has been demonized. It's getting a little better than it once was, but still people consider, this lifestyle to bring on high cholesterol. I think the greatest rebuttal for this particular topic is people who are actually experts in the way the ketogenic diet can affect your cholesterol levels, and who I automatically think of as Dave Feldman.
Dave Feldman, okay. Yes. I do too. I think
he is the cholesterol guy, and he is constantly and consistently doing documented studies both on himself and his associates, and so he has pages and pages of data about cholesterol levels, and not just on the ketogenic diet, but he's also practiced some other diets for specific time periods, like calorie restriction, low fat, just to see what would happen to his cholesterol levels. So he has all kinds of videos on YouTube. We're going to link to his channel, which is cholesterolcode.com, and he has everything that you would need to know about taking a cholesterol test as a ketogenic lifestyle proponent. And he also has some very pertinent information on how you can ace your cholesterol tests if you're concerned about that, and you know that you're going to be having a physical, and you know that is going to be an issue for you. He has ways for you to get around these readings that somehow inflame your doctors. So it's very, very good website, very accurate, very, very pertinent to this particular topic.
Dave Feldman's also got a YouTube channel.
Yes, he does.
So if you don't want to read as much, there is a YouTube channel. A lot of great interviews that he has done.
He's at almost every low-carb conference around the world. He's always invited because this is a hot topic. So they're not wrong in putting this in their article, because this seems to be a major topic for discussion, especially amongst physicians, because they're still under the misconception that cholesterol is the be-all, end-all for cardiovascular health, and that's just absolutely not so. Right.
All right, so Dave Feldman, and this is actually what I was looking for. I was looking for a, there's also a channel called High Fat, High Fun, used to be Keto AD. He did a great video a couple years back, a year ago, about cholesterol,
his own experience,
statins, and keto. And he also referenced a lot of good information. He even referenced some of Dave Feldman's information, and I think at some point he may have even interviewed him as well. So I wanted to find that. I want to link to his channel as well. So, and he's got that video's got 251,000 views.
So obviously it's got some good information.
So, and it's my experience with high cholesterol, statins, and keto. That's the name of that video. All right.
Okay.
All right. So the next point is what?
Vitamin and mineral deficiencies.
All right.
So apparently, if you're eating the ketogenic diet, you are going to be missing out on some kind of nutrients. I'm not exactly sure what that would be, because if you are practicing the keto lifestyle correctly, there is really no way that you can become deficient in anything, because you're supposed to be eating whole food sources, both
Right.
meats, vegetables, full fat dairy products. So you should be getting all of your vitamins and minerals. In fact, more so than people who practice the standard American diet, because a lot of times they're eating foods that are fortified
Yeah.
with vitamins and minerals, which your body does not always recognize. If you take a box of pasta and say it's been fortified with iron, you take that in, it's not going to process in your body the way it would if you ate a steak, because that is readily available heme iron. It goes directly into your bloodstream and is immediately usable. Your body does not have to change it into some other
It doesn't
compound
have to work on the
to then
fortified
become a usable form of iron.
Right.
So,
Right.
and a lot of times too, there's been a lot of information, especially recently, that the RDA needs to be changed for people who practice a different lifestyle, because the RDA requirements that we have right now are based on people who are practicing the standard American diet, and not everyone is doing that anymore, even people who are vegans. So everyone who's practicing an alternative lifestyle does not necessarily fall into the old parameters of the RDA.
And those guidelines were based on the standard American
Right.
diet and all the crap that we were eating
Right.
as part of the standard American diet. So yes, there was deficiencies because you're eating all this junk
Right.
just as part of our standard American diet. And so yes, you need to get all this stuff supplemented and whatever.
Exactly.
But again, as Sarah mentioned, if you're doing keto, I mean, you're eating whole foods. You're
Well, and
eating.
it's got a picture of oranges, so I can assume that they may be also talking about scurvy, but I have never personally known anyone practicing the ketogenic diet that has gotten scurvy from lack of vitamin C. Meat is actually a very good source of vitamin C.
Right.
So that is definitely a misconception.
Right. All right. So next one was elevated heart rate. I
Yes.
thought that one was kind of peculiar.
Well, you know, your heart rate can become elevated anytime that you are practicing a diet of any kind. Any diet.
Okay.
Because you're revving up your metabolism, and likewise your heart rate can become elevated to, you know, go along with that. So anytime you're in a weight loss situation where your body is actively losing weight, that can elevate your heart rate. So that's not necessarily just a correlation with the ketogenic diet. That can be any weight loss program that you undergo, because your body is undergoing metabolic changes, which then can change blood pressure and heart rate temporarily. So that's not necessarily.
And they kind of talk about, they try to allude it to that also that may be part of being dehydrated.
Right, which we're going to talk about a little bit more on the next point.
So again, you know, when I read that about the elevated heart rate, I'm like, yeah, I think you're just reaching because you need 6 points.
Yeah.
So, all right.
It's kind of the same as the next point anyway, with the severe hydration.
Dehydration. Okay.
So I don't know anyone that would allow themselves to become severely dehydrated. I wouldn't think, because you would think that you would become thirsty at some point, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I think you would become thirsty.
I mean, definitely we've discussed in the past that keeping yourself well hydrated can also offset the negativity from the ketogenic flu when you initially begin the keto
Electrolytes,
diet.
and you
Right.
having the proper
Making sure you're
amount of
getting enough
electrolytes.
salt, because
Right.
once again, going back to the RDA, you know, guidelines for vitamins and minerals, we are also eating less salt than we should be on the standard American diet. And so when you begin a ketogenic diet, you're going to need to increase your salt level, because you're not taking in a lot of fortified or processed foods, and so you might be lacking the sodium that you once had.
That you were
and your body
taking in from
requires.
before.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
So it is true that you are going to need to adjust your electrolyte balance when you start practicing this lifestyle,
Right.
at least initially.
But I think that could be said about any kind of weight loss thing that you may
course.
try to do. Is you may need to
course.
adjust the amount of water you drink.
Especially if you're doing any kind of supplementation.
Yeah.
If you're doing, you know, if you're taking any vitamins or minerals or magnesium or potassium or anything like that, you're going to need to be aware of remaining hydrated. But I thought it was interesting in here because it said ketones are a byproduct of ketosis. If those build up, a condition called ketoacidosis can result. So they're still throwing out the ketoacidosis as a scare tactic.
Yeah, ketoacidosis, yep.
Ketoacidosis is an extremely rare condition, and it is what happens with dangerously high levels of ketones. Most of us who are practicing this lifestyle are excited if we get, 1, maybe 2 ketone readings per millimolar. Those excite us because that's great. So when we're talking about dangerously high levels, we're talking 6, 7, 8. I mean, off the chart ketone levels. And most people in relatively decent health, even if you're metabolically challenged, are not going to be able to reach that level of deep ketosis. That is usually something that occurs as a side effect of danger for people with type 1 diabetes. So unless you're a type 1 diabetic, ketoacidosis is not generally a problem that you should ever come in contact with. Yeah. But they're still scaring you about it.
And it's funny because they actually link to another article they have about the difference between ketosis and ketoacidosis. And it's kind of funny because if you read that article, they kind of explain what ketoacidosis is about.
And how hard it would be for you to actually get it.
They talk about it, so it's kind of funny. It's like, okay,
they tell you to be aware of it, but then when they link over to another article, it talks about basically how hard it would be to get it.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like, okay, again, it feels like you needed.
Why go there?
It feels like you needed a point, so you throw that out because that's a way to sensationalize keto. So, or to sensationalize your article, not keto. This is your article that you're trying to sensationalize. So
the next point is the next point is impaired functioning of vital organs. So it's talking basically about your lack of glucose, because these nutritional experts are still under the mistaken impression that your body will not produce the amount of glucose it needs regardless of whether you are feeding your body glucose.
Right.
Just because you do not give your body glucose does not mean that your body does not know how to make it. Your body will begin making ketones instead of glucose if you're keeping your carbs to a certain level. But that does not mean that your body does not know how to do that. I mean, we're living proof. I'm not going without glucose, even though I'm not putting glucose actively into my body in the form of lots of carbs or lots of sugars.
And I guess I want to say this too, because even doing keto, we do eat some carbs.
Well, of course.
We're just not eating as many carbs as we were eating before.
We're not eating a lot of refined carbs.
Yeah, and
when we talk about carbs, we're talking about nuts.
But some people,
vegetables.
Some people are eating, hundreds of thousands of grams of carbs a day.
Yeah.
And that might sound weird, but if people just so you say you weren't doing keto, and people just tracked how they normally eat without doing keto, you'd be surprised how many carbs people are eating every day.
Yes.
I mean, you're talking probably hundreds and hundreds of grams of carb, and some people can.
And drinking carbs.
Some people can throw that down and just at breakfast.
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's not like if you're doing keto, you're not getting any carbs, but like Sarah said, your body knows what it needs.
Well, and then
it will produce glucose if it needs it.
Yeah, and then this point threatens then if you don't have enough glucose, your body's going to turn to your muscle.
Yeah.
Why? Why would your body burn muscle if you have excess fat? Yeah. Your body is not dumb.
Yeah.
That's like I've heard many people talk about if you have a wood pile outside that you have chopped up wood for the winter and instead you break down your sofa and put it in your fire.
Right.
It's like, no. Your body is not dumb. It knows where to get excess needs from. And that would definitely be from your fat and from ketones, not from your muscle. So you don't need to worry about running out of glucose.
And another thing, I guess I want to keep things in perspective. I remember that article we read last year about LeBron James practicing keto for a period of time, and other prominent athletes practicing keto. Now, these are people who their livelihood is based on their physical,
on their athletic ability,
their muscles, their ability to do the things that they do. You think that these people, that's what they do for a living, they're going to be doing something,
are going to run the risk,
right? I can't. I'm going to do this.
I'm
going to do this keto thing, and I'm going to get super skinny and lose all my muscles. So I can't. You know, I don't think so. So
No.
it's kind of like
it's just common sense.
When you read some of this stuff, it's like, seriously.
You're really reaching.
But the problem is this, and I said this, and I got to be careful when I say this, is a lot of the news we get today is junk. I'm sorry, it's junk.
No matter what your source is, you can get junk news from CNN. You can get junk news from your local news.
A lot of the stuff we read today, and a lot of this stuff, it's just junk. And if you look at it, and I don't know how that started. It's just we just read a lot.
We live in a sensationalized society.
Yeah, we live in it's just a lot of junk. Even when you go to, so we had to download Apple News in order to access Pop Sugar. I had taken it off of my devices because, again, every time I look at the news, to me it feels like it's the same stuff all the time. It's the same bad news or something new, but it's still the same sensational stuff. And when I put this back on my device, it's like, wow, there's some stuff that maybe
it's pertinent.
But then as I keep going into it, there's just a lot of junk. I mean, because now we're pulling stuff from everywhere, from all over the internet. I mean, we're just pulling stuff from everywhere, and it's just a lot of junk. So anyway, that's my commentary on.
So our last point is disordered eating. So the experts feel like the ketogenic diet could bring on disordered eating. And for their point of view, they are saying that people who practice the ketogenic lifestyle are cutting out an entire food group. Yeah. And maybe to their mind, that's what it seems like. But we have not given up carbs in our lifestyle, in our ketogenic lifestyle. We are still eating carbohydrates, people.
Yeah.
We still have carbs every day.
Yeah, that's true. We do.
We're eating vegetables. We're eating small amounts of carbs in dairy, in nuts, some of the other foods that we enjoy.
Yeah, some of the carbs that we're having now, we still have to watch out that we don't have too many of them.
Exactly.
You know, so she mentioned nuts. We have to be careful that we don't have too many of them.
Almond flour, other things that have a great deal of fiber, but is still a carbohydrate. So carbs are still part of our food group, are still part of our food pyramid. Maybe it's not taking up the entire base of our pyramid like it once was when we practiced the standard American diet. But we in no way have cut out carbohydrates entirely from our life.
Right. And again, I've said this before, one of the whole points behind the channel is for us to show you ways where you can have a wide variety of foods on keto and not feel deprived. So this point is written from the perspective that, as you said, people are giving up everything.
Right.
People, and even when I talk to people at work, they can't believe, man, how can you go without having that donut? Well, I can go without having that donut because, we just made a mud cake that tastes
just like pie.
Just like pie. So I don't need to have that donut. No. But you don't know that. Because you just don't know it. And so that's the perspective that's coming from.
Well, and realistically, if you have had issues with disordered eating in the past, then following any form of restrictive lifestyle may not be for you. It may not be suggested for you. Any kind of restricted lifestyle. That's calorie restriction, that's fasting, that's veganism, that's anything. If you have had problems with eating disorders in the past or disordered eating of any kind, then you probably should not be on any kind of restrictive eating program at all. You should be following the advice of your psychiatrists and psychologists and doing what they recommend, eating how they recommend for your disorder.
Right.
So that's not just the ketogenic diet. That would be any kind of restrictive diet.
Correct. I agree. So anyway, that's all the points?
That's it.
So that was the point.
6 was bad enough.
6 from Pop Sugar. I guess, well, I'm not sure if we can link to this because you have to have Apple to get to it.
It's Apple News. You might be able to find it elsewhere.
So
I don't know.
We'll try to link to it if you want to read it yourself. but we will link to some of the other stuff that we referenced.
The cholesterol information.
Yeah, we'll
for sure.
do that as well. But again, you know, if you're doing keto, you got a hold of something great. Just keep that in mind. Yeah, you're losing weight, but you got a hold of something that's a lot more powerful than just losing weight. I mean,
Yes.
You're getting your health back, your inflammation, you're reducing inflammation. You're having a lot of health benefits because you're doing the keto lifestyle or the keto diet. Okay, so that is our keto conversation from this week. We'll try to link to this article. I'm not sure if we can, just because it's through Apple News. We have Apple devices, but we'll see if we can find it.
But we will link to all the cholesterol information that we referenced as our first point.
We'll do that, and a lot of good stuff about cholesterol out there. A lot of good stuff on YouTube, even about some of these other areas as well. And if I can find some of that as I'm putting this together, I'll link to that as well. We wanted to, we've done this before in the past, but we wanted to say thank you to some Patreons that have decided to support us. We have 2 new ones. The latest one is Connie Knight. And we want to say thank you, Connie.
Hi, Connie.
We appreciate your support. And then Danny T. We appreciate your support as well.
Hi, Danny.
And thank you for supporting us through Patreon. Wow, we're just excited that people even decided to help and do that.
I'll be able to make some more food now.
It actually does help you. Believe it or not, we've done all this just on our own.
Yep.
We haven't, taken out any loans. The
Nope, and we don't have sponsors or really any affiliates, so everything that we do is done with our own funds.
And so anyway, if you feel like you want to be part of the Patreon supporter group, that's fine. No pressure on that. We always put links to it in the video description to all of our social media platforms that we're on. You were telling me that the Facebook group is growing.
Yes, we got 6 members today.
Yeah,
so
we might
welcome everyone.
Might want to seek maybe some volunteers to help manage that, and maybe help us with that. I don't know, kind of get things rolling. I mean, we post stuff out there, but probably be good. If you're part of the Facebook group, or if you make our recipes and you have Instagram, Pinterest, or whatever, and you take pictures of the food,
put it
out there, and
tag us.
Yeah, let us see it. And
we want to see your creations.
Yeah,
I always get such a big kick out of that.
And if you modify stuff, great, go for it. We want to see that too.
Know.
And if you did this instead of that,
it's all about sharing.
And it tastes great. Let us know so that we can. Because we like to see it. So anyway, that is the keto conversation for this week. If you're new here, this is a segment that we do every Wednesday. We do new recipes every Sunday, and from time to time we try to do what we eat on keto videos. And so consider subscribing. We'd love to have you as part of our ketogenic family, and we hope that you have a great rest of the week, and we will talk at you later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Peace.